Every faith community can take action as well, by educating their congregations. By joining in coalitions that are bound by a love of God and a concern for the oppressed. And like that good Samaritan on the road to Jericho, we can't just pass by. Indifferent. We've got to be moved by compassion. We've got to bind up the wounds. Let's come together. Around a simple truth that we are our brother's keepers and we are our sister's keepers. And finally, every citizen can take action, by learning more. By going to the website that we helped create, Slavery Footprint. Org, by speaking up and insisting that the clothes we wear, the food we eat, the products we buy are made free of forced labor, by standing up against the degradation and abuse of women. That's how real change happens, from the bottom up. And if you doubt that, ask Marie Godet Nyanyota, from the Congo. Think about Marie's story. She was kidnapped by rebels. Turned into a slave. She was abused physically and sexually. They got her pregnant 5 times. In one awful battle, her children were killed, all 5 of them. Miraculously, she survived and escaped. And with care and support, she began to heal. And she learned to read and write and sew, and today Marie is back home, working toward a new future. Or ask Ima Matul. She grew up in Indonesia, and at 17 was given the opportunity to work as a nanny here in the United States. But when she arrived, it turned out to be a nightmare. cooking, cleaning 18-hour days, 7 days a week. One beating was so bad it sent her to the emergency room. And finally, she escaped. And with the help from a group that cared, today IMA has a stable job. She's an advocate, she's even testified before Congress. Or ask Sheila White, who grew up in the Bronx. Fleeing an abusive home, she fell in with a guy who said he'd protect her. Instead, he sold her just 15 years old, 15, to men who raped her and beat her, and burned her with irons. And finally, after years with the help of a non-profit led by other survivors, she found the courage to break free and get the services she needed. Sheila earned her GED. Today she is a powerful, fierce advocate who helped to pass a new anti-trafficking law right here in New York. These women endured unspeakable horror. But in their unbreakable will, in their courage, in their resilience, they remind us that this cycle can be broken. Victims can become not only survivors, they can become leaders and advocates, and bring about change. And I just met IMA and Sheila and several of their fellow advocates. And I have to tell you, they are an incredible inspiration. They are here, they've chosen to tell their stories. I want them to stand and be recognized because they are inspiring all of us. Please, Sheila, IMA. To IMA and Sheila, and each of you in the darkest hours of your lives. You may have felt utterly alone, and it seemed like nobody cared. And the important thing for us to understand is there are millions. Around the world who are feeling that same way at this very moment. Right now, there is a man on a boat, casting the net with his bleeding hands. Knowing he deserves a better life, a life of dignity, but doesn't know if anybody is paying attention. Right now, there's a woman, hunched over a sewing machine, glancing beyond the bars on the window. Knowing if just given the chance, she might someday sell her own wares, but she doesn't think anybody is paying attention. Right now, there's a young boy, in a brick factory, covered in dust. Hauling his heavy load under a blazing sun, thinking if he could just go to school. He might know a different future, but he doesn't think anybody is paying attention. Right now, there is a girl, somewhere trapped in a brothel, crying herself to sleep again. And maybe daring to imagine that someday, just maybe, she might be treated not like a piece of property, but as a human being. And so our message today, to them, is to the millions around the world: we see you. We hear you. We insist on your dignity. And we share your belief that if just given the chance, you will forge a life equal to your talents and worthy of your dreams. Our fight against human trafficking is one of the great human rights causes of our time. And the United States will continue to lead it in partnership with you. The change we seek will not come easy, but we can draw strength from the movements of the past. For we know that every life saved in the words of that great proclamation is an act of justice. worthy of the considerate judgment of mankind, and the gracious favor of Almighty God. That's what we believe. That's what we're fighting for. And I'm so proud to be in partnership with CGI to make this happen. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. God bless America. Barack Obama. Remarks at a CNN Guns in America town hall. Delivered January 7, 2016, Fairfax, Virginia. Anderson Cooper, good evening from George Mason University here in Fairfax, Virginia. We are here tonight to talk about one of the most divisive issues in America today: guns. Their protection is enshrined in the Constitution, in the Second Amendment. And gun ownership is an integral part of American history and culture. There are some 30,000 gun deaths in America each year. Two-thirds of them are suicides, one-third of them are homicides. So the question we want to confront tonight is how you find a balance between protecting the rights of American citizens who want to own guns. But preventing guns from getting into the hands of people who shouldn't have them. We brought together people here tonight who represent really all sides of the issue: gun owners, gun sellers, people who have survived shootings or lost loved ones, some here believe that having more guns makes us all safer, and believe the right to bear arms defines us. Preserves us from tyranny and cannot be compromised in any way. Others here tonight believe just as passionately that more needs to be done to limit the sale of firearms. and we respect all of their views. And we want to hear from as many as we can tonight in the hour ahead. One voice you will not hear from tonight is the National Rifle Association. They're the nation's largest, most influential, and powerful gun rights group. We invited them to be here. I think their office is just a couple miles away. They declined to take part. Some of their members are here tonight. Though we're very thankful for that. And so are representatives from the National Firearms Retailers Association. This town hall is not something the White House dreamed up or that the White House organized. CNN approached the White House shortly after the San Bernardino terror attack with this idea. And we're pleased that they agreed to participate and pleased to. Welcome tonight the President of the United States, Barack Obama. President Obama, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Anderson Cooper. President Obama, great to see you. Anderson Cooper. President Obama, I have never owned a gun. Now, up at Camp David, we've got some skeet shooting, so on a fairly regular basis. We get a 12 gauge and I'm not making any claims about my marksmanship. Anderson Cooper. President Obama, I grew up mostly in Hawaii. And other than hunting for wild pig, which they do once in a while, there's not the popularity of hunting. and sportsmanship with guns as much as there are in other parts of the country. Anderson Cooper. Back in 2008, you said you talked about bitter Americans clinging to their guns. Even now, these executive actions have caused a lot of concern among a lot of people. What can you say to somebody tonight to convince them that you don't? Want to take away everybody's guns and you're not coming for their guns. President Obama, well, first of all, Anderson, I think it's useful to keep in mind I've been now president for over 7 years and gun sales don't seem to have suffered during that time. Anderson Cooper. President Obama, they've gone up. I've been very good for gun manufacturers. More importantly, I'll tell you a story that I think indicates how I see the issue. Back in 2007-2008, when I was campaigning, I'd leave Chicago, a city which is wonderful. I couldn't be prouder of my city, but where every week there's a story about a young person getting shot. Some are gang members and it's turf battles. Sometimes it's innocent victims. Anderson Cooper. President Obama, sometimes it's happened just a few blocks from my house. And I live in a reasonably good neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. So that's one image talking to families who've gone through the pain of losing somebody because of violence in Chicago, gun violence.